committed to working together over the next few hours, a couple of days to get this nailed down so we have it ready to go through a special session as soon as possible, which would be very soon. Respond?
I think that, as the governor stated, we have a framework agreement, I guess is the best way to look at it. So the bills will, the commissioners now and the chairs will still hammer out the final details, but we've got a framework agreement. And the next couple days we'll be very busy trying to expedite and move those details. The reason the time on that is a little in flux right now is we just need to make sure that they finalize details and then that they give the revisers time to draft those bills.
Again, to reiterate, it's a framework agreement looking for the quickest possible time within the realm of processing bills, getting chairs, commissioners in rooms, and getting the work done.
Governor, does the framework in that deal also include your stipulations talking about the bonding bill, dropping the policy to 15% workforce, and also will you pass a lights-on bill, or is that still being worked out?
Well, my understanding, and again it's clear in my letter, which was accepted as I accepted the offer sheet signed on June 30th, is the policy items that were on the list that were provided near the end of the negotiations are removed. That includes the 15 by 15. I'm hopeful we can work out a bonding bill. I can't speak for the speaker and the leader. That's not the ultimate requirement for proceeding, but I think it will well serve Minnesota. So, but again, the letter that I had today has been accepted, and I've accepted the offer sheet, and that provides, as the majority leader said, the framework for getting this resolved as soon as possible.
Governor, you're assessing the offer from the 30th, but we've had lost revenue since the government shut down. Has that been calculated, and how will you account for the loss, and who's willing to take responsibility for it?
Well, that has to be calculated, and that'll have to be factored in probably for the next legislative session. We'll see how the forecasts in November and next February bear out and see what adjustments, if any, have to be made. Obviously, we have to have a balanced budget for the biennium, so if we have to deal with that, that'll be our collective responsibility.
How much concern is there about using future tobacco settlements? It's a complicated deal. It's costly and at the state. Are there concerns among the three of you about that mechanism? And is there a possible alternative?
Well, I expressed very strong reservations back on June 30th and again in my letter today, and so I guess I'll let the other speaker and the majority leader talk about that from the standpoint of their caucuses.
No, I mean, obviously, Tom, we share those concerns. This is an agreement that is, I think, difficult for both sides. Governor, I won't speak out of turn, but we very much appreciate from the governor, as we've been saying, some of the cost-saving reforms. So policy, but if there's been some good discussions, particularly in HHS, in the Health and Human Services, and some coming together on some agreements for reforms that will make would likely yield some cost savings and also get a little more Minnesota control of healthcare. And we did have discussions that those discussions should and would continue within that budget bill. So so the reforms, cost saving reforms could move forward.
On the revenue side, is gambling revenue off the table completely? Does it go by the framework of the governor's budget today?
Yes.
Anyone, were there any changes? No, did somebody ask that question? Is gambling revenue off the table?
The gambling revenue has not been included in this offer, and to your point about the tobacco bonds, yes, it's not something. I'll agree with the governor. It is not a perfect scenario, but we are in an imperfect situation here, and are going to have to, as the governor said, agree some things we don't agree with, but it gets the budget balanced and it ends the shutdown.
Governor, are you concerned that 2 years from now you might be in this exact same situation because nothing's really been done to solve the structural problem?
Well, it certainly doesn't put us in a better situation, but the real solution for Minnesota and for the nation is for the state and national economy to improve and put more people to work and therefore paying taxes. So, if I had a crystal ball that could predict where we would be 2 years from now, I'd be down on Wall Street trying to repair my fortune or something worthwhile, but I don't know. is the bottom line. But, this is not advantageous to whatever that situation will be.
Are there enough Republican votes to pass this?
Senator Koch, I won't speak on her behalf of her caucus. We've been in contact with our members just about every other day, calling them on the phone every day, getting their input. I believe that there are, again, there's some of the details that are going to be worked out in individual bills, but we would not be uncomfortably offering up a solution if we did not have at least a good working relationship with our caucuses on what the solution would be and what it would mean to not only get the shutdown ended, but to get ourselves back into special session.
Are you expecting Democratic votes?
Madam Leader, could you also answer that question? Are there
Yeah,
enough
no.
votes in your-
Yeah, we're working with our caucus as well, and I think that, as always, they've got to hammer out the final details in these bills, but we believe that the caucus will ultimately support this. Obviously, for them, it's not going to be something that is, they're going to be concerned about the spending, and so the reform piece, right? We talk about making sure that in the ensuing years, in the ensuing budgets, we can get some control on that spending. That's a key factor for them.
Can anyone tell Minnesotans when the shutdown will be said and done, completed?
Very soon, within days.
And how about the bonding bill? Are the votes, particularly in bonding, you're going to be Democratic?
That's a basic math, and we only have 72, so there will need to be some Democrat votes, in both bodies for the bonding bill. So I think that will be, a very, very big key. We didn't quite get the smaller bonding bill through this last time. I'm hoping that there will be Democrat votes for it this next time.
Have Democratic leaders pledged their votes?
I haven't pledged them, but I'm certainly aware of my request, and I will do everything possible to get Democratic votes for the bonding bill. And I think a lot of the opposition to the previous one was because it was too small, not because it was, for that reason. So I'm very optimistic that we can get bipartisan support for that.
Where does the Viking Stadium fit into this, if anywhere, in a special session?
We haven't talked about the Viking Stadium in about 2 months, at least. I haven't talked to Ted Mondale in about 14 days, not coincidentally since the shutdown. So I'd have to get caught up on it and see what the situation is. There were still some significant details to be worked out before I could support it, and so we'll have to see what the status is. That's something I'll look into tomorrow, but I can't
Is there any
give you an
chance that
answer.
could happen in time if the special session will be in a matter of days?
That's really more for the two of you to do.
We're focused solely on making sure that these bills are processed, ready to go as quickly as possible to get not only the shutdown ended, but government back up and running. I don't know, as the governor said, we haven't had any discussions about what's in, what's not in that proposal. We haven't looked at it for weeks, I would say even months, at where they are and where they've been. So we're focused on the budget, getting the lights back on, and getting government running again.
If there was a basic framework, does that mean the 700 million bonds, 700 million, the K-12 delay, is that, or does that change at all?
The numbers are slightly different on that. It's, what was it, 1.3 something? It's not exactly that, but the basic framework is what we're looking at, Tom. The two big pieces.
Are there any other details that you can give us of what this budget will look like? It's going to move quickly, and Minnesotans might be curious.
Well, if you look at what's important to me, which is expressed in the sheet, we could hand it out again. It shows the difference between us, the 1.34 billion. That's what Minnesotans can look to as the difference that made me willing to make this offer and this agreement, because those what I consider critical services will be protected. That and the removal of the policy items that were in the list that was shared during the last days of the negotiations being off the table, as the leaders have said publicly before and agreed to today. Those two are reasons that I'm willing to go along with this, even though, again, I don't agree with the financing part of it in particular. But my priority is to get Minnesota back to work and do so in a way that protects what I think are critical services, and this accomplishes that.
Have you given yourself a deadline on when to finish this, the details? Are you going to have them the weekend? What's that?
We're going to be around. I'm around all weekend. We start the Health and Human Services people tomorrow morning, and we said we'll think about how we want to proceed, but I expect to be here all weekend, and expect to do everything around the clock because of the urgency of getting the lights back on and Minnesota back to work as soon as possible, and I think that will be very soon.
Well, this deal is not enough for lights on. The deal we made just now, the agreement's not enough for lights on.
No, we're going to turn all the lights on when we get all these bills passed, and that's going to be in just a very few days, and so that's what our focus will be and a priority. And I've said all along that that's the comprehensive agreement is what I insist upon, and we're going to get that done very, very quickly.
You all came into office in January saying you're going to make major changes to the differences. What have you done that has been changed? What changes you made that is significant compared to what has been done over the last several years here in terms of one-time money accounting?
Well, I can say, I can't speak for them, but I would say that the significant reduction from the current law projection of $39 billion to whatever this turns out to be, which will be well over $4 billion, is certainly significant from their standpoint, and from mine. Given the reality of the circumstances, I said at the outset there's no good or easy way to resolve a $5 billion deficit, which we all inherited from our predecessors, and so. In the context of that, I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to persuade a legislative majority the wisdom of my approach to raising taxes on the wealthiest Minnesotans. But I have 3.5 years left in my term, and I will continue to try to make that case to Minnesota. And in the absence of that, this agreement today, and I said that about 6 weeks ago that I would come to a midpoint in terms of a spending level, and we will be very, very close to that level with this final agreement. So, again, I believe I've been true to my word as it's evolved by saying that I'm willing to compromise, and I appreciate the willingness of the two leaders to do the same, and no one's going to be happy with this, which is the essence of a real compromise. I think the people of Minnesota won today because we're going to get everybody back.
What have you learned? What would you do differently if you had to go back and do it again?
I'll put that in my book someday. I'd have to think about it.
You will not call a special session until there is close to an ironclad agreement as there can be. You don't want to just have a lights on bill to keep things going temporarily. You want a final deal.
We're on a fast track to getting this resolved permanently. And that's by far the preferable outcome. That's the outcome I've insisted on all along, and we're going to have that almost as rapidly as we could have a session for lights on and then come back again at additional taxpayers' expense to have another special session to get this concluded. We can telescope all that into one. We're talking about a very short period of time here to get this done, and the pressure of getting it done so that we have the resolution that can turn all the lights back on all over Minnesota is a good part of the incentive we all have to get this done.
I'll put that in my book.
Will state workers be made whole?
Nothing more than that?
I mean, I'll offer what we've offered all along. I'll offer what the governor offered. I mean, we didn't believe we should spend this amount of money, and the governor did. We're spending more than we wanted to, which is, again, not something we wanted to do. But at the end of the day, yes, we had to compromise. We had to come together, not on behalf of the three of us and what it looks like in our books or biographies. That's not what this was about. It was about making sure that we get a deal that we all can be disappointed in, but it's a deal that is done, a budget that will be balanced, a state that will be back to work. So, I don't know that we're all happy at all. I mean, none of us got exactly all of what we wanted, but we will have a deal that will be done and a budget that will be balanced, and a state that will be back to work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
You know,